Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian. Mr. Smith, it's my kitchen. Um, it's Tuesday. Thought we'd do a little chatting. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. If you're returning, awesome. Glad you came back and you got something out of at least one of my videos, which is good because that's what we want is to hopefully somebody learns something or find something interesting at any rate. But today's Tuesday, and Tuesdays we normally chat. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when my videos come out. Normally come out 3 days a week. We're starting to get back into our pattern of Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays again. But as always, we are a family. Things go awry, things come up. And so we do our best at any rate. Today, with it being Tuesday and talking, and I was thinking, just about all kinds of random stuff. We're preparing for Thanksgiving already, even though it's 2 days away. But I'm doing the baking this year. We're doing an apple pie, a pecan pie, and a pumpkin roll, which kind of covers all the bases. There's the fruit, there's the squash, there's the nut, all in the desserts. And these were decided upon by the family as a whole. Sarah really wanted the apple pie. I really like pecan pie, and Chris would like a pumpkin roll. Now, Abby has no real vote, although she'll eat any of the three. And then, so in order to get all that accomplished, well, the apple pies, we truly make everything from scratch. So today I'm making the pie filling. Well, if I'm going to make pie filling, I'm going to make enough that we can can it up. If you are new to my channel, we do a lot of canning, processing, putting in jars. So right now in the container, I've got 6 quarts of apple pie filling, and each quart will make 1 apple pie, 9-inch standard apple pie. Yesterday, I made up that's exactly what it's called, the dough. Thank you, honey. Chris, my wife, sitting right in the dining room. Doing her job. She works from home, and she's also my memory at times. But so we're going ahead. We're getting that going. But so anyhow. Thumbs up, thumbs down, optional. Comments always welcome. Love comments, all shapes and sizes. You probably hear Abby in the background. She's actually off all week for Thanksgiving, so she gets to hang out with us for the next. Well, me and Mom the next 3 days. Abby's our youngest. And, but anyhow, I've just had some really kind of interesting, I had an interesting conversation that made me think for a minute, but, it worked, and it was on canning, oddly enough. I've got a friend of mine I work with who is he's interested in canning for the, I don't want to say the end of times, but to be prepared. Much like me and Chris, a lot of these things we do to be prepared. So I was thinking about, his question was, why would you, like, for example, can beans when you can have them in a dry state anytime? Well, I know the main reason why me and Chris can beans, for the most part, is to give us a certain type of bean. Like, we canned baked beans, and that way, we have baked beans. I just got done canning up 18 jars of chili beans, little pint jars. We did quarts of the baked beans. But then you would say, well, why would you do that? Well, on a why would you can it basis, just for everyday living, it's cheaper. It's more economical. The chili beans I did, if you go to the store and buy, a name brand chili bean, you're looking at $2 to $3. Even an off brand is $1.50 to $2 a can. Where by me canning them, it's like 20 cents a can. So it's cost effective. Doing it that way, and they're just as good. And that being said, there's no preservatives in it, no additives in it, and they last pretty much as long as any, processed gig. Maybe not quite as long, but at the same time quite as long. If you think about it, you go get a canned anything from the store, like now is 2021. It may say it's good till 2023, 2022. So you got a year or two of shelf life. Well, I know those beans I did just a month ago are going to be good for potentially 5 years. If you could get a processed canned item from when it was manufactured, you probably run a good chance of, it'd have to be like right from the factory, so to speak, of maybe getting 2 to 3 years out of it. But they're not designed to last as long as you think, or at least be best by as long as you think, because people are consuming them right away. They're convenience. And you pay for that convenience. It's like going to the corner store to get a gallon of milk. You're going to pay $5 for it, where if you got in your car and went to Walmart, you would pay $2.50. So there's a convenience factor in that. So we do it that way. Plus, we know what's in it. I literally know, like in my chili beans, there's nothing but the spices I put in it, water, and beans. That's it. No preservatives, no additives, no nothing. But the other reason, let's say it is end of times, or you're stuck in your house because there's a 5-foot snowdrift in front of your door. You can't get out of your driveway. Winters, at least in Ohio, can get rough. Not as rough as like the Northwest, but they still have their moments and have had their potentials. I know in 50 years I've lived through, some pretty bad winters. I've been through at least 3 blizzards. And I can't tell you how many ice storms have taken out power for days on end and not been able to get to work or things like that. So, in that aspect, it's good to have those. But then you say, well, Brian, if you don't have electricity, what do you do? Okay, well, the way I process my beans, I could eat the baked beans just damn near right out of the jar, along with the chili beans for that matter. But we have alternative methods of heating up our food. We have wood in the backyard in a fire pit. We have a grill. We have charcoal. We have a propane tank with two full-size burners, to run off of it that we use sometimes for canning. And then we also have our little butane stovetop or butane burner. That you guys have seen previously if you've been watching any time in my videos that I used to cook on instead of the stovetop at times. So we have alternative methods, to be able to cook things. But like in beans, and I know I'm just kind of shoving beans out there, but that's what we're talking about. If I wanted to cook beans, from a dry state, first I'd have to let them soak for, at least 12 hours, at least, in water. Now, if you're without power, there's no way to pump water into your house, or at least there's a good possibility that's not going to happen. So, if you have a well, you're done, because you have an electric pump. In the city, it comes pressurized from the plant, but let's say the plant doesn't have power. There's 1,001 possibilities. So you got to rely on any water you have stored, if you have water stored, and I hope you do. And that takes away from the water, because you have to waste that water. If you let it soak for the beans soak for 12 hours, you got to discard that water, unless you have like a filtration system, but most people don't. So you're wasting that water, and then you have to cook them, which still takes a fair amount of time. And during that time you're cooking them, we'll say an hour or two at least, you're wasting fuel, whether it be your wood, your propane, your butane, whatever, you're using, an hour or two's worth. When if you have cooked beans, or pre-done canned beans, you can just put them on, and within 30 minutes you got chili or you got beans, for that matter. So, there's lots of reasons to can things. And also, I think I'm going to try, if I can get enough people that are interested, to do canning sessions, once a month, just, here at the house for people we know in our neighborhood, friends and family and stuff, to show them how easy it is as long as you follow the rules, and B, you can process almost anything. You know, a majority of people can um, to preserve. So, yeah, into the season, beginning of fall, into summer, when vegetables are starting to come into play, you can't possibly eat 12 plants worth of tomatoes, especially if you have a good year. At least not all at once, not before they go bad. So you process them and you can them. That way you store them through the winter. That's what people used to do way back when. You know, um, they would grow their food, and in the winter, that way they'd process it for the winter. That way they'd have it all through the winter. You know, that's what root cellars were for and things like that. So, you know, there's a reason for it. You know, no matter how you do it, whether it be cost, preserving through the winter, you know, or power outages in case of emergency. So there's three really good reasons why we just can't beans. I mean, it could be anything, but canning beans. Another thing would be another thing I was thinking about at any rate was, and this was on the way home. I stopped at the grocery store the other day, yesterday. Well, I stop at the grocery store every day, but it was 2 days ago, not this morning, and was going to get a couple different things. But I stopped and I always look in the meat department, you know, and we shop at Walmart to see if there happens to be anything marked down. I can just bring home and throw in the freezer, and then if we get an overabundance, we can it later. And there was a couple packages of 90-10 hamburger, you know, 90% meat, 10% fat, that had been marked down, but it was still $6 a pound as a markdown. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I know things go up in price over time, but holy cow, things have gone up quick. And I know that they're, at least in the meat manufacturers, well, most manufacturers and things, are jacking prices up on the grocery stores because they're having a hard time getting things to market, or they're having a hard time getting employees, you know, and I get that. But it made me realize how fragile our system is. You know, just our system of living, the way we have built our society, it is horribly fragile. Okay, so this article I read in the New York Times, maybe a couple months ago, and it was weird that it came up because we were talking about it at work, was what's the problem with transportation and the docks on the West Coast and the East Coast that we can't get ships in? What happened before the pandemic to now that changed all that? Because prior to the pandemic, you know, things flowed, shelves were always stocked, life was good. You know, there wasn't manufacturing hiccups. And some of it, at least in the States, not take out the ships that are sitting, you know, on the coast and the docks, some of it was COVID. I get that. You know, people getting sick, people dying, you know, even though there were a lot of people that didn't believe, we still lost 1 million people. That's 1 million people that were working, or at least close to 1 million people. I know some of them were elderly, retired, things like that. But that was still a bunch of people that was working. Some people are still scared, even after 2 years, to go back to work. I get it, sort of. And things like that. But one of the causes of this initially was where we gave out money to people who didn't work, and I think I covered this. We gave stimulus money to people who were working, and not that I disagree with that, but we gave out so much money that it shook up the way our society has been structured forever, from the really poor to the super rich, you know, and then you got the middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, and then just the middle class. Well, by providing all that extra money and being pushed to keep the economy stimulated, keeping things going, which is good, but what had happened was there was so much demand for things because everybody could afford stuff that it cleared the shelves, and we're having a hard time recovering. Some of that is due to the fact people don't want to go back to work. Yes, dear. You want what?
You're loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be loud. I'll try to be quieter. Okay? That's all right. I love you. That was Abby telling me I'm loud. But it set off an imbalance in our economy just by giving money out, which is scary. Now that we're near the end of the pandemic and we could be recovering, and I'm not against this next thing I'm about to say either, so don't get it twisted. I just think we need to really evaluate how we run the show as a whole. But now the pandemic's not over, but it's drawing down. COVID is never going to go away. It's going to be like the flu. We're going to have to get vaccinated for it annually, just like the flu. We're going to have to mind our P's and Q's. We may have to wear masks all the time, but we're really going to have to start washing our hands again and all that stuff if you ever stopped. But because of that, and because of the way that happened, somebody decided it was a good time to say, you know what? I want more money. I want a better hourly rate. I want better pay for what I do for a living. Like I said, I'm not against that. Not against that. But what has it done? It's caused people to leave certain industries completely. One of them being restaurant. And I get it. My daughter, I make a good living working in a restaurant. By all means, I enjoy what I do, and I make good money at it. But I know for a fact my oldest daughter makes the same amount of money I do working in a warehouse where she doesn't have to deal with customers, where she works normal, set hours every week. She only works 4 days a week instead of 3. So I get it. But at the same time, that's setting an offset to the way things are done. And it's eventually going to start putting things out of business. And I hope not. But what does that do in turn? So we start paying more. Everybody starts paying more, which is happening. Everybody's starting to pay more. And that's great. Except for now we're just doing, and we run through this every time we raise wages. So if I'm paying somebody $10 an hour to make a widget, okay, and I charge, we'll say $5 for that widget because I sell so many in a year. Well, now this person who's making $10 an hour says, I'm going to go leave and work for the widget maker down the road if you don't give me 15. So I go, well, he's a really good employee. I want to keep him, so now I'm going to pay him 15. Then all of a sudden I've got everybody wanting 15, so I've got to raise the wage. Now this is on a small scale, but this is actually happening across the nation right now. So now I got to pay everybody in the plant $15 an hour. Well, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to make the price of my widget $10, not 5 anymore. Now it's 10 because I have to cover the cost of everything. There is so much that goes into running a business that people don't normally think about. That you have to charge a certain amount, and if you upset that balance, prices go up. Because inevitably, so what happens is that started with that one widget company. Now it's kind of like word of mouth. Those people tell their friends who tell their friends who tell their friends who tell their friends. Now all of a sudden, everybody is wanting $15 an hour instead of $10 an hour, whether it be in that industry or in our case at the moment, pretty much across the nation. That's great, but then we're just driving up the prices of everything. So now your widget goes from 5 to 10. Everybody else's widgets goes from 5 to 10 to 50 to whatever. That $15 an hour you're making now might as well be $9 an hour because it balances out the same. That's why the value of a dollar in 1935, let's say in 1935, this guy bought 100 acres of property for $1,000. I'm just throwing that number out there. The value of that property, that 100 acres today, would probably be about $500,000, depending on where it's at, or more, depending on where it's at. Because the value of a dollar increases over time, it makes things worth more. Well, we're driving that too quickly, I think. And in the process, society at the moment has amazed me. So we're letting kids starve and not eat nutritional foods. We are fighting amongst ourselves about the way things should be, when really all you have to do is be a good neighbor and be good to each other, and feed each other. We're driving up the cost of stuff that eventually, when people start to run out of their stimulus money or have run out of their stimulus money, things are going to be so expensive that the poor won't even be able to afford a can of soup. That sounds extreme, but lately, everything's been extreme. So I think in talking through this, okay, and this is how I think of most things that we talk about, along with some research, because I still read, all the time, and I at least read the New York Times every morning, at least a snippet of it, because I get it on my phone, the free trial thing, so I try to keep going, but we're running to the point where the poor are going to be so poor that they can't get anything done. And meantime, we're fighting amongst ourselves about feeding people, getting people medicine, eyeglasses, hearing aids. And even if I wanted people to come back to work, I know in my industry, I mean, let's be honest, there aren't many Rockefellers coming to work for me. These are young parents, teens, high school students, college students that are coming to work for me that are just starting out. Well, how are they going to start out when the cost of rent alone is ridiculous? And now you're going to drive up the prices of groceries. I can remember starting out, man, I ate a lot of bologna, a lot of yogurt, a lot of mac and cheese and hot dogs. I can also remember when you could get a package of hot dogs for 89 cents. Now you can't touch a cheap pack of hot dogs for $1.25. And good hot dogs, I know we buy a name brand hot dog, and granted I get a package of 16, but it's still $8. Hot dogs. There are certain things that were considered common man, poor man food. Hot dogs, bologna, mac and cheese, ramen. Even the price of ramen noodles went up for the cheap packages. They're not so cheap anymore. We're driving ourselves to the poorhouse. Some of it's greed. I'm not going to lie, but there are a handful of food industries, mostly meat, that are greedy. They're like the oil industry, and they're paying our politicians, to look the other way. They are, and you're a fool if you believe indifferently. Manchin out in West Virginia, class example of that for the coal industry. They're paying him a fortune to look, to vote against alternative fuels. And that's a shame. That's a shame that a person can be bought out and not do the right thing. I mean, an absolute shame. Hold on for me 1 second. All right. We are boiling. So we gotta let these boil for 35 minutes. There's one bad thing about water bath canning on your stovetop. Gets water everywhere. But anyhow, that's just something we need to think about. The cost of groceries is like the cost of the cost of gas. Finally heard today somebody on the national news actually said there is nothing that the government or the president can do about controlling gas prices. That is an entity that is an international business. It's not just the U.S. I'll tell you something real quick, and then I'm gonna let you go. But my last thought on that, the gas thing, is there has been 2 times, although President Biden's about to make it a 3rd time. There has only been 2 times in history where the U.S., the president, was ever remotely close to affecting gas prices, and both of them did the same thing. One was a Republican, one was a Democrat. One was Richard Nixon, Tricky Dick, for those who remember him, and Barack Obama. When the gas crisis hit in the 70s, Nixon's temporary solution to help out was to open up our reserves for oil, so we can process our own oil to drop the price. Now, we're talking 1970s when gas was only about, well, when it was bad, it was 70 cents. Um, and it dropped it by 3 cents. Okay, 3 cents. That's it. And that was by opening up our reserves. Barack Obama did the same thing, and it dropped it by 10 cents. 10 cents. And this was back in 2008 when things were getting nuts with gas prices going to $5, $6 a gallon, and the economy was falling apart. So I can't imagine that even though Joe was putting forth an effort, it's going to drop it by that much. And they're still not, I mean, as bad as they are at $3.20 something a gallon, at least here in Ohio, it was a lot worse a few years ago. I can remember paying $5 a gallon, and trying to fill up a pickup truck at $5 a gallon, hot mess. I had to quit driving the truck. Eventually sold it. Biggest regret we ever had. So, that being said, that's that. But we really need to maybe you have an idea and you can leave a comment, a brief idea on how to, we can start looking at fixing this. Me and Chris have worked out most of our stuff by doing it from home, growing our own vegetables, canning them for winter. When I find meat on sale, I buy as much as I can, and then that way I can bring it home. But by buying as much as I can doesn't mean I bought all of it. Okay? That is just wrong beyond belief. There's a Meyer grocery store down by where I work, and they seem to always have their meat marked down. Like a manager special. And they'll have a bunch of it. Like nobody buys hamburger. And there might be 20 packages sitting there. I buy 5 or 6. I don't buy them all. I'm not greedy. You got these assholes like in the beginning of the pandemic that were going through and clearing off shelves of canned goods to take home. To either resell on Amazon at double the price or to keep for themselves for an eternity. So wrong. Don't do that. That's just rude. And wrong. Well, of course, we let our children not eat nutritional food and starve to death because they can't afford it. Anyhow, don't be like that. But there's got to be a way. Just got to be a way. So anyhow, tomorrow for dinner, I don't know exactly what we're having for dinner, but we're gonna do a slow cooker meal because I'm gonna be baking all day, and I got water changes to do tomorrow, so that way I don't have to worry about them on Thursday. And then Thursday, I don't know what we're going to do yet. I don't know if we're going to bake something, so to speak. We might. I haven't decided yet. But Thursday's Thanksgiving. We're going to be eating all day, lounging around, not doing anything. We may not do anything. We may just hang out and talk for a few minutes. We may go do some stuff in the garage. We don't know. Baking we might do because I really want some peanut butter cookies. Me and Sarah were talking. Sarah's my middle daughter, if you don't know. The other day, and both of us agreed that peanut butter cookies sound delicious, and we haven't made them in quite a while. Although I don't know if I have a video on it, but even if I do, who cares? It'll give us something to talk about while we'll have things to talk about while we make cookies. At any rate, that being said, I will see you tomorrow for dinner. Doing something in the crock pot. It'll be a load of fun, and I'll even show you the pies and pumpkin roll I make. So that being said, I love you. I love you very much. Tell somebody else you love them and love them very much. And if you think about it, share your casserole with a neighbor. Or if you make a crock pot dish, take half over to them. Get to know people. All right? I love you. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you tomorrow for dinner. Bye.